Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Siobhan for anyone who's new, and in today's video I am going to be pitting these two L'Oreal foundations against each other. So this is the L'Oreal Infallible 24 Hour Stay Fresh foundation, and this is its matte counterpart. Now obviously they seem to be two totally different foundations. The packaging and everything really keeps them quite apart from each other, but I'm interested to see what the real differences are. So today in real time it is Wednesday, so I'm going to wear this guy for the day. I'm going to apply it now for you, see how it wears and see how it sits on the skin. Then tomorrow on Thursday I'm going to wear this guy and see how I get on with it, and then I'm going to come back to you on Friday. But on Friday, before I come back to you, I'm going to apply this to one side of my face, this to the other side of my face, and then I'm going to see how they actually sit side by side, so you can really see how they look on the skin next to each other. And they do, even from looking at the packaging and what's written on the back, they seem to be very different foundations. So this guy has a medium texture, high coverage with a matte finish, and this guy actually doesn't tell you much about those kind of claims on the back. It says no transfer, no visible imperfections, no visible shine, no dry out, no mask effect. This is enriched with hydrating hyaluron, so hyaluronic acid, and extreme hold pigment for optimum comfort. So we'll see how we get on with them. I do quite like these bottles with the pump, of course, because it's easy to get it out and that. These are obviously better for travel. And okay, so I'm going to pump a little bit of this. This is my first time using it, so this is very much a first impressions as well. I got the lightest colour in each of the foundations as well, which are not the same. So the lightest colour in this is number 15 Porcelain, and in this, it is called Porcelain, but it's number 10. Now side by side, it looks like this cream formula would be a little bit darker, but we'll have to see how it goes, especially on Friday when they're side by side. So I am going to apply this using, let's see, I'm going to apply it using my Blank Canvas Cosmetics F20 brush, which is just a flat top kabuki, and this does look very pale on the skin, so it'll be interesting to see how it reads. I swatched the next shade up, which was Vanilla, and it was too dark. So that's kind of the story of my life when it comes to a lot of these foundations, in that the lightest one can sometimes be too light or too pink based, or too, you know, a bit too neutral or whatever, and then the next one tends to be ever so slightly too dark. So in terms of application, this guy goes on absolutely beautifully. There is no visible streaking or marks. It's not sitting into any of my pores. I only bring it up as far as my orbital bone, which I'll do with both of these foundations. It has gone on really smoothly. I don't know if you can see, but there are absolutely no marks. It is a little bit paler than me, definitely. It has paled me down a little bit, but I don't think it's miles away from my neck. I think there's a little bit more yellow coming through on my neck naturally, but I'm sure once I powder everything up and add a little bit of bronzer and blusher and that, it'll be fine. And here's how it looks zoomed out again. So in terms of coverage, I'd say it's definitely medium. What does this say? Yeah, no mask effect. So I assume this is supposed to be more of a light to medium coverage. I can still see freckles, the odd blemish coming through, and it was basically the two pumps that did the whole face. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of my makeup, and then I'll come back later on this evening and let you know how I'm getting on with the foundation. But it feels very comfortable on the skin. It gives, I'd say, a satin finish. It definitely has a little bit of a glow there, and it's the kind of foundation that I personally like the look of straight away, and it'll be interesting to see how I get on with it. So I thought I'd come back quickly and just show you how everything looks now when it's all totally finished and I have the rest of my makeup done and it's set with powder and everything, and it actually looks grand. I would say in real life it does look ever so slightly a little bit more white than my neck, in that I don't know how much of this picks up on camera, but there's definitely a little bit more, you know, of yellow, that's the only way I can describe it, or ivory kind of colour on my neck, and then this is more straight on kind of whitish porcelain, I suppose, as the colour goes. Okay, so I left my phone downstairs to show you the time, but it's just around 9 o'clock here now, and I've had this makeup on for a good 8.5 hours, 8 hours or so. So here's how it's held up. It's actually looking pretty good, and the lighting isn't great though. I've had to adjust the camera settings just to get a little bit more light in, but apart from picking this spot, which I shouldn't have touched, the makeup is actually looking really well. So it's considering I didn't use any primer, and I'm not going to use any primer tomorrow either, it has held up really, really well. A little bit dry here, but I think that's just because I didn't use a primer. I nearly always use a hydrating primer on my forehead because it gets so dry, but it's not really shiny. My nose, which tends to get quite shiny, isn't too bad. I mean, it's a little bit shiny, but it's not too bad. So all in all, really, really happy with how it's lasted after 8 hours without any primer. I think it's actually in really, really good nick, and it hasn't lost too much coverage. Like, I tend to lose my foundation around my chin from touching it. You can see it's gone a little bit, but sorry, there's horses, a big van with horses outside, which is really strange considering the estate I'm in. But anyhow, yeah, it hasn't gone off there too much, so it's actually held up really, really well. I'm really impressed with it. Good long wear, and it does claim long wear, I think. Yeah, it does. It claims 24 hours, so I'm very impressed. I mean, I'm not going to try it out for 24 hours, but I'm really impressed with how it has lasted for the 8 hours. Right, so it's Thursday, and I've been dragging my arse all morning, so I'm a little bit later starting this video than I was yesterday, or applying the makeup, and I'm just going to jump in and apply this guy. So I'll use a similar brush. My hair is still wet from my shower. I'll use a similar brush to what I used yesterday when I was applying this. So yesterday I used my Blank Canvas Cosmetics one, and today I'm going to use my Zoeva one, but they have a similar shape, and this is the Defined Buffer, which I absolutely love. Now, there is an extra 5ml in this, and that's actually quite common with loads of different makeup companies. Like, for instance, in, actually better get this to shake, in MAC, the Studio Sculpt, which is their like tubed mascara, has 10 extra ml, so I have a feeling it's because you might use a little bit more of the product than a liquid one. But anyhow, so we'll pop a splodge of it on, and then we'll just see how it goes. So I did prep my skin the exact same way as yesterday, by the way, no primer. I put on my Vichy Aqualia Thermal Serum because I get quite dehydrated, and then because there's no sunblock in these foundations, I don't know, did I point that out yet, I used my Simple SPF 30 day cream. So that's me covered in that way. Now this, again, it looks like it'll be a bit too cool. So the main thing I noticed yesterday, especially when I was looking back over footage from the this guy on me yesterday, was that it looked just too cool on my skin. And possibly maybe like half a shade too light. It was a little bit light looking. I mean, obviously, like, the contour and stuff helped, but it still was a different colour to my neck, mainly in tone. And I think I was right about what I said yesterday about this looking a little bit darker than this, even in the tube, because this isn't just making me look as kind of ghostly white as the other one did yesterday. So if I was to liken these shades to MAC shades, I didn't mean to get that up by my eye, I would say that this particular one, the Infallible Matte, which is number 10 Porcelain, is closest to NW13. So it's definitely NW, as in it's warm and pink based. And then this one, which is also Porcelain, but it's number 15, is closer to NW10, which is, you know, lighter again. And I would be more of a 13, 15 rather than the 10. Which explains why that one looks so pasty on me. Now I'm immediately noticing a difference in application here. So it's kind of bunching up a little bit on my skin. Like, it's gathering together in certain areas. And see, even there around my nose, I don't know, can you tell there? It's gathered around the, I was going to say the rim of my nose, but that sounds awful, the end of my nose. And obviously it looks a lot matter on the skin as well. More matte? Matter? Is matter? Probably should say more matte on the skin. It's not doing great things around my blemish either. I don't know, can you tell there? Just in that it's kind of gathering around it, and it's probably because it's a little bit dry around the blemish. To me now, it's a little bit more visible on the skin as well. So I don't know. I think it's just because it is a matte foundation, and possibly my dehydrated skin doesn't love it. Now, saying that, once you kind of play with it and deal with any of those little areas, like I just went over with my finger and any of those areas that were gathering, and it seemed to help to just kind of melt it back into place. Okay, so that's as much as I'm going to do for coverage wise, because you know, if something tells me it's full coverage, I don't expect to have to wear a lot of it to get full coverage out of it. I would say it's more medium to full. It feels kind of chalky on my lips. It kind of looks a bit chalky on the skin as well. It's, yeah, definitely, I'd say it's more of a buildable coverage. And yeah, I'll have to see how it goes. It's definitely not as white on me, as white as the other one, but it still is a bit too cool in tone. So, you know, there is still a bit of a difference in my neck. I'll go ahead and finish off the makeup and see how it looks and everything once it's set. Okay, so that's it totally finished with all my makeup on and stuff, and I basically did the exact same things I did yesterday. I'm kind of wearing the same makeup more or less as I did yesterday, apart from the lips are a little bit more toned down. So it's my NARS Translucent Setting Powder, and this is a slightly luminous powder, and I think that's a good route to go down if you are going with such a matte foundation. I wouldn't use a mattifying powder over a mattifying foundation unless you were literally the oiliest of the oily. So okay, first impressions on this foundation is my poor round nose is looking like the Sahara Desert. It is showing up, yeah, it's showing up every little bit of texture. So any dehydration that was obviously on my nose beforehand is very, very obvious now, whereas it wasn't showing up beforehand. And definitely didn't have this issue yesterday. You can see here, particularly on my hand, you can see how pink that reads now against my skin tone. So even though obviously when you put on your blusher and contour and everything, it does help to warm it up a little bit, but it's still still a different tone. It doesn't actually feel that uncomfortable on my face, but any little wrinkles and lines I have are definitely quite noticeable. Like these little lines in between my eyes, again, it could be something to do with dehydration as well. They're never ever normally this noticeable, and like when, I suppose, because I always wear more moisturising formulas, but they definitely are more noticeable there. And I just don't love how it's sitting around my blemishes, and I'd say that's just because of the dry skin around it. So I'm not loving this foundation. Now, all in all, from a distance, it actually looks quite okay. It's only when you go up very, very close that you see the niggly bits. And I think the reason it does look good from a distance is because it does give quite good coverage. So it definitely gives coverage. It definitely is quite a dry foundation, so it's absolutely more for oily skinned girls. And now it doesn't seem to play very, very well with other liquid products either, because when I popped on my under eye concealer and kind of patted it down to, you know, blend it in with the rest of my foundation, it didn't blend in very well with it. It kind of was caking a tiny bit. So yeah, it's not the best foundation for that, I'd say, for mixing with other liquids and creams. But I think it does give a flawless finish from a distance though, when you look at it. I'd say this would be a good foundation for like theatre, or for like, what's the word I'm looking for, just for even photography. But yeah, we'll have to see how it goes. So I'm not loving this, definitely, and that's more of a personal thing because I obviously don't have the skin type for it. But I'm not loving it as much as the other one, and we'll just see how it wears throughout the day. Okay, so it's 9 o'clock roughly here again, so I decided to film at the same time as I did last night with the liquid version, and I have the camera at the exact same settings as well, so it'll be roughly the same, roughly the same lighting. So it has worn actually very, very well. I got cross-eyed there. It has worn very, very well. It okay, so where it was really, really dry and grabby on the nose has softened, it has yeah, my natural oils basically, where I usually get quite oily in the T-zone, or my nose, sorry, not my T-zone, my nose, T-zone when I was younger, my nose now, I would be very shiny now, but what it's done with this foundation is just balance it out a little bit, so my natural oils has just made it less dry looking, if that makes sense. Because you can probably see there that it's not like very, very shiny, there's a bit of shine here, but nothing ridiculous by any means. In regards to the rest of the face, it, you know, still looks a bit crap around my blemish. It has worn very well. It has worn away on my chin a tiny bit more than yesterday, but that could be to do with the heat of today. Today was very, very hot and sunny. Well, very hot might be a slight exaggeration. It was quite hot for Ireland, and sunny, and I was in the car a good bit, so it could have been from that kind of stickiness. It still looks dry-ish. Yeah, it just basically doesn't give me the nice kind of natural radiant or luminous glow I like from these kind of more foundations. Saying that, it has worn very, very well. I can't really complain about it. Like, I could probably happily wear this foundation by prepping my skin more accordingly. So by using a moisturising primer underneath, something like maybe Illamasqua's Hydra Veil, something like that, and I probably wouldn't even have some of the issues that I'm having with it now. So if you want a long-lasting foundation that stays pretty matte, apart from this small little central area that's a little bit naturally shiny, it's actually stayed quite matte throughout the day, and yeah, I am actually really impressed with it for what it is. I know I was complaining about a few bits, but that's more my own issues and my skin not being prepped. But for the, you know, for the purpose of this video, I didn't want to prep my skin beyond my usual just serum and moisturizer, so I didn't bother with any kind of primer. So yeah, it's actually held up pretty decent for what it is, so I can't complain. Neither foundation's oxidized, so they're pretty much the same color as they were when I put them on this morning, and like, I'd be happy, I'd be very, very happy if I was at an event or something and my makeup looked like this after 7 hours. Yeah, sorry, I should have said that. I've had it on for 7 hours. Alright guys, so it is Friday, and as promised, I applied this guy, which is the Stay Fresh foundation to the left side of my face, and then I applied the matte counterpart to the right side of my face. Now, for the purpose of being as thorough as possible, I made a few little tweaks today. So for instance, I tried it with a primer. This is my MAC Prep and Prime Natural Radiance Primer. So this is great for dehydrated skin that needs a bit of oil control because it hydrates, but it inhibits oil production without mattifying, so it's really good. And then I also used a sponge. This is the Real Techniques Pro Blending Sponge to apply my foundation. And let me tell you, I love particularly this guy infinitely better than I did yesterday. So with using the sponge, not only do you get a less kind of chalky finish, it also didn't cling to the dry areas quite as much. Now, I'd say obviously this helps as well. So I truly believe that anyone, regardless of your skin type, can wear pretty much any foundation as long as your skin is A, in the best nick it can possibly be, and B, it's prepped like properly for whatever foundation you're going to use. Obviously now, if you're talking about someone who's on the driest of the dry, or someone who's on the opposite scale of the oiliest of the oily, it's a little bit more difficult. But anyone within, like, you know, the spectrum of not the extremes, can pretty much get away with any foundation, and I really think I can get away with both of these. I don't know, can you see on camera? So there's definitely, with the Stay Fresh one, there's more of a natural glow, and you can see, I don't know, it's actually kind of harder to pick up when they're side by side, but I do think it's ever so slightly brighter, as in lighter in colour, but it's obviously more luminous as well. And then this side is more matte, not matter, as I was saying earlier on, and it is still quite, like, they're flawless in a way without being mask-like, which I do appreciate from the two of them. So yeah, I'm actually big fans of both of these foundations. I wasn't as much of a fan of this one yesterday until today when I tried it with the primer and the sponge, and now I just think it's great. Now, one thing I will point out about this is I kind of pressed my chin a while ago after it was on, and it doesn't, you can't work over this very easy. This one you can work over as much as you want, not this one. I think there's just too much powder in it. It does contain silica, and so I think once it's on, it's kind of on, but despite that, I am quite happy with how it looks. Now, my forehead is dry, a little bit dry. I think that's more down to me not drinking enough water at the moment, and I am more dehydrated than usual. But I am, like I said, I am so much happier with this foundation in particular than I was yesterday. And then this one I just think is beautiful. So what I think I'm going to do is, both of them are still, even though in this light it's not too bad, but both of them are still like ever so slightly lighter than it's not even lighter, it's more that there's a little bit more yellow in my own skin tone. So what I think I'm going to do is, because I do like them that much and I would happily use these in my kit, I think I'll buy the next shade up in both of them and then add like a smidge of it and when I want to apply it again, because they are just such lovely foundations and I'm so impressed. So I'm going to finish off my foundation. I'll come back, and the rest of my makeup, I'll come back and let you know some of the important last bits of information. And here's how it looks now with my foundation set, and there's very, very little difference between the All Day Flawless or the All Day Fresh even, and the matte. Now I can see this is marginally lighter, but it's very hard to pick up. You wouldn't really notice otherwise. I did take a flash test just to show you how it flashes, or how it takes in flash photography, so you can see how that looks as well. Doesn't really have much flash back. It's obviously bright because it's such a white flash, but it doesn't look crazy in comparison to my neck. And I have been wearing this for a while now because I've done a couple of tutorials in between this, so I will have the kind of step-by-step tutorial on how to do a black smoky eye up soon as well. But I noticed that I was leaving a few marks in my face, say from working on it, and again it just is hard to work over this side. But all that said, it's absolutely fine. I've spritzed my face a couple of times with rose water as well, which I like to do, or any kind of botanical water spray, mineral spray, whatever, throughout the day, and that really helps. But I am so impressed with how well this performed today compared to yesterday, with the addition of the primer and use of the sponge. So I need to let you know quickly about the nitty-gritty, which is the price. So the interesting thing is that there is a 30ml in this guy, which was the first one out. Even though it says new on it, this has been available since last year. This guy has actually 35ml, so there is an extra 5ml in this. But this is more expensive for having less product, which is interesting. I'm not really sure why that is. So this here is £13.99 in Ireland. It was £14.99 last year, close to when it came out. So it has gone down by about €1. So let's just call it €14. And then this guy is £12.29. So let's call this 12. Yeah, £12.29 and 13. Yeah, so there's a good bit of a difference. There's more than 150, like, you know, nearly €2 in the difference. So £13.99 and £12.29. Even though this is cheaper for more product, this is more expensive for less product. That's really interesting. So I thought I would let you know about that. And of course you have the obvious, which is like, this is a squeezy tube, easier for traveling, and then this is your pump bottle. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. If you have any questions or queries for me, leave them below. I'd like to think I covered most of what I should have covered in the video, but of course there is always room for error. So if I did miss anything, just let me know and leave your questions below. And that's pretty much it. So like I said, there will be a tutorial for this black smoky eye up very, very soon, possibly even tomorrow. I'm not sure when it'll go up, just keep an eye on Twitter. That's it, guys. Thanks a million for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I'll chat to you all really soon. Slán.